Today, I'm going to talk about photography in the age of social media. I'll begin by recapping a little bit about digital photography and introducing some social media statistics for us to work with. Next, I will introduce the main topic of today's lecture, which is self-presentation on social media. And we'll look at the sort of tension between positive and negative capabilities. Next, I'll have you briefly screen the first couple minutes, really the opening credits of Social Animals, the Real and Digital World of Today's Teenagers. You may feel like watching more. It's a great film, but I'll just ask you to watch the first couple minutes. And finally, we'll get back to this tension between restrictive and democratic beauty standards on social media sites. In last week's lecture and in our Zoom class, I talked about how digital photography, in combination with the internet, created a situation in which it was much more difficult to control the flow of photographic imagery, so that photographs came into the public eye in ways that, number one, uncovered injustices, as in the photographs of tortured prisoners at Abu Ghraib prison. Photographs connected loved ones, as in the missing persons posters, the creation of all of these missing persons posters that blanketed the streets of New York City following the attacks of 9/11. And finally, photographs created misinformation, as in this example with the infamous tourist guy that purports to be a photograph of a young man just seconds before a terrorist plane hit the First World Trade Center tower. But we know now that it was a doctored photograph. So in many ways, social media has exacerbated both the positive and negative tendencies of digital photography, has made them more pronounced, and with great implications for the social conditions of race and gender. I will talk today about self-presentation in social media and the role of celebrities in that space as well. But first, let's step back to look again at the big picture. So I've mentioned before just the sheer number of digital photographs being taken, 1,200 billion in the year 2017. That's 1.2 trillion photographs. This has been an exponential growth, and the rapid proliferation of smartphones, as you can see in this chart all the way on the right, is the main explanation for this exponential growth in photographs taken. At this point, upwards of 90% of photographs are taken with some kind of phone. And if we add social media to our timeline of digital photography, it looks like this. In 2002, the first camera phone is available in the US. Shortly thereafter, MySpace and Facebook are founded. In 2010, Instagram is founded. In 2011, Snapchat is founded. By 2013, 90% of people have only ever taken a photograph with their phone. And in 2019, 657 billion snapshots were uploaded globally to social media sites. Just to say also, in 2019, Facebook had 2.3 billion users. And social media that foregrounds photography has done especially well. A marketing company called HubSpot ran an analysis and found that Facebook photographs generated 104% more comments than text-based updates. And another analysis by a social media firm found that 90% of the most engaged with posts on Facebook were photographs. So it turns out we really, really still like taking and sharing snapshots. And we also take many, many pictures of ourselves. In the past couple of years, Instagram has grown at the fastest rate of any major social platform, amassing 1 billion active users who now spend an average of 53 minutes a day on the app. So as I've said, social media photography exacerbates, I think, the tension between photography being used for good and photography being used nefariously. On one hand, we have more opportunities for authentic and democratic photographic experiences, photographs that may seem to provide an unmediated glimpse into facets of life that would have previously been restricted to a select few with particular resources and the platform to see and share them. On the other hand, there are far many more constructed photographs and oppressive photographs. More than ever before, we are aware of the growing gap between the photograph and reality and its ability to spread misinformation, and including hateful ideologies and dehumanizing concepts. So I want to talk about this now in one arena, in the arena of self-presentation. When we think about social media, we might immediately think of the role it plays in contemporary celebrity culture by giving viewers the sense that celebrities are just like us. This is the appeal of something like the Oscars selfie. In the middle of the 2014 Oscars, Ellen DeGeneres, the host, waded into the crowd and corralled some of the world's biggest stars to squeeze in for a selfie, and Bradley Cooper took the photograph. Ellen DeGeneres immediately posted this on Twitter, where it was retweeted over 3 million times. Now much of the appeal of this was seeing normally posed celebrities engaging in the everyday, the ubiquitous action of taking a selfie. And those celebrities then become, the photographs of those celebrities then become part of how everyday people view themselves and their lives. There are dozens of photo editing apps. There are new ones being created all of the time. In 2013, Facetune was originally released, and in 2017, it was Apple's most popular paid-for app. And you see a before and after picture here on the bottom left. There are also various filters, such as the Kylie Jenner Instagram filter from 2018, which was the most popular that year, which alters your face to fit this standard, making your eyes appear bigger and as if you're wearing lipstick. So here's another example. This is photographs taken with the permission of the subject. She posed for them on purpose. Her name is Elle Hunt. And the photograph on the left, she was taken in natural light on a digital camera. And the photograph in the middle, she took as a selfie with her iPhone with no filter. And on the right is a selfie that she ran through a Snapchat filter. In all of these examples that we've just looked at, there's this kind of ideal type of what a woman should look like, and that's being created, and certainly a blurring of the line between reality and fantasy. And of course, this has been very damaging for many young people, and because these apps and filters create unrealistic expectations of what is normal. And yet, if everyone does it, then it becomes a new normal. So I'd like to ask you now to screen the opening credits for the film Social Animals, the real and digital lives of today's teenagers. And then to, if you feel compelled, to think about Instagram and your own relationship with Instagram, and post a comment to the Moodle discussion forum for this week. I want to say a few words about this Instagram face, which is now really a term applied to filtered selfies more generally, not exclusively Instagrammed. And this is a quote from one of the essays that you're reading for this week by Gia Tolentino regarding the Instagram face. Quote, "It's a young face, of course, with poreless skin and plump high cheekbones. It has cat-like eyes and long, cartoonish lashes. It has a small, neat nose and full, lush lips, end quote. This new photographic normal has created a condition in which people are now requesting to have their own facial structure altered with fillers, with Botox, and with actual surgeries to look like their adulterated, filtered photographs. So that these manipulated photographs are now being used as a basis for a new reality. You'll read about this in Tolentino's article about this phenomenon of people contacting plastic surgeons and requesting procedures to resemble their digital image. This has been referred to as Snapchat dysmorphia, which is a term actually coined by a cosmetic doctor, after he noticed that patients who had originally been bringing in photographs of celebrities with a particular nose or jawline that they coveted, they were now bringing in photographs of themselves that had been edited with Snapchat or Facetune. Furthermore, some of these plastic surgeons themselves use these apps, such as Facetune, in their practice in order to show potential clients what they can do to their faces surgically or with fillers in real life. So in terms of the photographic trajectory, this is a rather extraordinary turn of events, right? Photographs are no longer believed to reflect reality. They no longer need to pretend to reflect reality. And yet, they're being used to reformulate and redesign reality, what we consider to be reality. So on one hand, social media promotes a celebrity culture that arguably normalizes and enforces an unrealistic, narrow set of beauty standards that are out of reach for most people. On the other hand, social media has also created a platform for a widening of beauty standards by allowing for a broader, more inclusive set of positive representations and linked through hashtags such as F Your Beauty Standards, created by Tess Holliday, a model and blogger and makeup artist. We're also seeing a growing number of celebrities recognizing their own platform, who have been taking selfies of themselves with no makeup, sometimes pointing out so-called flaws, and also pointing toward the amount of effort that goes into making photographs of themselves appear so perfect. Many celebrities are speaking out against photo editing, criticizing the widespread use of photo editing software on social media sites. There's also the issue of photographs of celebrities being edited without their consent or permission. And we have a new form of photographic consent to think about. We're dealing not only with the original photograph now, but also with that photograph's treatment. And so we see that social media platforms, outlets, are being harnessed by everyday people and by celebrities to widen the parameters of what is constituted as beautiful, to trouble the sort of narrow beauty standards that have also been imposed by social media. And this is certainly the case with Beyonce. This is her pregnancy announcement from 2017. We see on the right was the most liked post in 2017. It received 10 million likes. The photograph is taken by Ethiopian-American contemporary artist Awul Arizku. And I'll show some images after this slide that reveal how very tied into the history of art this photograph is. The visual codes of the photograph point to historical depictions of beauty such as Botticelli's Birth of Venus, and the veil and this very elaborate floral border references imagery of the Virgin Mary, especially the Virgin of Guadalupe. So on the left, we have Sandro Botticelli's The Birth of Venus, and on the right, an image of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Both of these images like these, were sort of forms of source material for Arizku in his development of Beyonce's pregnancy announcement. So this is not just an art historically savvy photograph, but as far as race and gender in the history of photography in the United States, this is a photograph that intervenes into a long history of maternal imagery that is mostly white. And here we see Beyonce's vision and Arizku's of the black maternal. So tellingly, Arizku is a conceptual contemporary artist who has made photographic series reimagining iconic works of art with black subjects, thereby intervening into the history of art. Here we have his Girl with a Bamboo Earring that's based on Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring from 1665. And we can see how, through social media, Arizku has been able to make this critique of the whiteness, so domineering in the history of art. A critique seen by at least 10 million people in the case of Beyonce's announcement. So in closing for today, I've spoken about how social media is a space where photography both broadens and sort of regurgitates beauty standards that intersect with histories of race and gender. This Thursday on Zoom, we will talk about how social media presents a space for the development of social movements, in particular Black Lives Matter. We will talk about and the Me Too movement. As for a Moodle option for this week, post a photo by someone you follow on Instagram that contributes to this topic of how social media either broadens or limits representations of race and gender, and say a few words about it.